What is happening, people? Welcome back to the Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast. Tonight, I'm joined by a fantastic panel to review that PSG crazy game which ended in defeat for Tottenham and also look ahead to Fulham in the Premier League. So let's introduce them one by one. Firstly, Justin, welcome back onto the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and congratulations as well for you gaining that award.
Thank you very much. It's very kind of you, and thanks for giving me your time tonight. It should be a good one and bring you on in such crazy circumstances after 8 goals in our last game. So thank you. Gary, welcome back onto the podcast, even though I sent you the wrong times. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I thought it was going to be a late one. I thought I was on at 8:45 tonight. So we're here. We've made it. We're on time pretty much as well, but echo other thoughts as well. Congratulations on your award and pleased to be back on the show.
Always good to have you. Thank you very much. Yeah, just to clarify, the Spurs podcast is 7 p.m. It's the Premier League podcast that's 8:45. So don't worry, we'll be talking all things Tottenham. Well, you can see that as a good or bad thing. Could be a therapy session at times. Thank you, Gary. Philip, welcome back onto the podcast. Always good to have you on for especially these European games. So you know a lot of stuff. But thank you for coming on. Are you doing well?
Yeah, thanks for having me on again as always. And yeah, to echo everyone else, congrats on the amazing award. The last time I think I was on, I had the pleasure of hosting when you were there at the awards, and we were all crossing everything that we got, and you made it happen. So well done. And look, I'm good. I'm a million times better than I was on Monday after the derby. Actually feeling pretty good today. So yeah, looking forward to a good chat tonight.
Good stuff. Thank you, Philip. Really appreciate you stepping in and hosting as well. I mean, I tell you what, I'm more nervous about 2 podcasts on my channel going on than actually what's going to happen in the awards. So my head was like, oh, what do I think about? But no, you've done an excellent job. Always knew you would do. And also Alfie that stepped in and hosted the Premier League podcast. So crazy evening, but a rewarding one in so many different ways. Thank you. And Joseph, always good to have you on as well. I'm really looking forward to this one. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for having me back on. Again, feels a bit feels less like me saying it now after everyone else has. But again, congratulations on your award. Done very well on that. Great to be back to talk Tottenham with some great people. Very turbulent time at the moment at Spurs, and we always have a lot to talk about, but especially after this last week, it's been a crazy couple of days being a Tottenham fan. So can't wait to get into it all.
Should be great. Thank you to everyone that's listening via audio or podcast platform. Thank you very much. Please do drop us a follow and a 5-star review. If you're listening on YouTube, you can listen live. And if you are, get involved. But if you're listening after on YouTube as well, make sure to like and subscribe. And shout out to our 5 non-paid partners in the Kitman, Everything Spurs Discord, Dan Gay Support Services in the 290 and Tottenham Programme Collector. Let's get into the PSG discussion then, because we've got a lot to cover. Spurs start 11 for the game then, for anyone who didn't see it. We went with an interesting team, which I didn't know what the formation would be at the time. Vicario, Porro, Gray, Van der Ven, Romero, Spence, Bentancur, Bergvall, Sarr, Richarlison, Moani. So that is the team that Frank decided to go with. Justin, I'll start with you. I mean, I just said it there, kind of gave the question away, and sometimes I'm surprised. Well, I didn't know quite what it would look like. We sort of knew that team, but didn't know who was going to play where, what formation, how it's going to kind of pan out almost. What was your thinking at the time? Were you like me and a bit like, how's this going to work out?
To be honest, I thought he cracked under the pressure. I was thinking, what has he done here? I had no When I was looking at the team, I didn't understand why he'd go with that, especially if it was going to be 5 at the back and Gray was going to be there. So I just didn't understand what would be the point of it. It didn't look attacking enough, especially when it comes for creativity. So I was a little worried, but yeah, we'll get into the game after. But yeah, I was very worried and confused.
I'm sure not the only one at all. I certainly was in that boat. Thank you. Gary, on the lineup, I mean, what were your thoughts? Any surprises in there for you?
Personnel was surprising. I think I tweeted out that it looked like a 3-5-2. I kind of thought we may go with a 3-5-2 before the game started, just purely based on how we performed in the Super Cup. So that didn't quite surprise me. But then when I more looked into the personnel, I could do a 3-5-2, but Gray seems to not play centrally at centre back under Thomas Frank. He does play him in the midfield. So then I was thinking, well, could this be a 4-3-3 with Sarr out wide, which we've seen before as well? So there was conflict in my own mind of what potential formation was. And as the game progressed, it looked like a 4-4-2 or a diamond as well when we were attacking, but a flat 4-4-2 in defending. So yeah, it was a little bit surprising. More personnel wise is what I was surprised about, especially that midfield four. But before we get into the game, I thought they all played relatively well, but obviously we'll cover that a bit later. So yeah, initial thoughts, I was a little bit confused on where we were going at first.
Absolutely that. It was, very puzzling for Frank, but at the same time, I guess there was a need for change after Arsenal. Philip, were you surprised not to see Paulinho, a player that you spoke about and we spoke about together on the podcast several times? I mean, he wasn't in the lineup. Surprised, Philip?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised, I think, because I expected or maybe hoped that Bentancur wouldn't play after Sunday, where I wasn't impressed with him at all. Albeit he's had some good games this season, to be fair to him. But I was a bit surprised to see Paulinho not in the starting 11. But I wasn't that bothered about that, in all honesty, because I saw this game as a bit of a free hit in some ways, really, but just didn't want us to get absolutely annihilated. When I mean that, I mean like a kind of more like a 6-1 or something, or a 6-0 kind of absolute battering. I was surprised, but then when I saw the team sheet come out, I how they put them out nowadays, with the numbers, kind of like rather squad numbers rather than the thing, and that made it even more confusing as to what we were going to do. I think, like Gary, I assumed it would be a 3-5-2 or 3 at the back, and I had no issues with that because we played well like that in the game against Paris in the Super Cup. And to be honest, I think we could have played well with that against Arsenal, but we just didn't get the formation. Well, we know there was a lot of issues, wasn't there, on Sunday, but it just didn't work. But the theory of having the 3-5-2, if your wing backs actually, get forward, and maybe if you've got more fluidity in midfield, then it can work. And once the game started, it was clear it wasn't a 4-4-2. It was clear that Archie was playing in midfield. So I was actually pretty happy with kind of how it looked at the beginning of the game. Yeah.
Thank you, Philip. I appreciate that. I think you covered a lot there. I think it's very important because the lineup was probably, I'll be surprised, put it this way, I'd be very surprised if anyone predicted the lineup dead on. And if they did, I'd also say, did you get it right in terms of the position and the formation? Because that's really difficult. I think it's good to have a manager that you can't predict. Joseph, lastly on the lineup, no Xavi Simons again. I mean, Arsenal and Chelsea, those two games, we really, you may disagree with me, but I thought we really lacked creativity, anything at all going forward. And Xavi Simons is really our only recognised number 10. If you see his Bergwijn, maybe is more of an 8. So you're surprised again to see him left on the bench. Surely this is the type of the game where we would have signed him for. Yeah,
definitely. I think most people are going to have that question of what is happening with Xavi Simons, because he's been a big kind of marquee signing. We want to see him pretty much playing in the starting 11 at least every single week. But you can see by the 2 games that we've played against Arsenal, obviously with Chelsea as well, but against PSG, we set up in a certain way where he probably wouldn't have been able to excel too much. I mean, I echo what Philip said. I don't know why they've changed that whole kind of lineup when they release the lineup and you've got the numbers instead. It just looks so confusing. And when I'm reading that we've got Bergwijn, Archie Gray, Bentancur, Sarr all playing, I'm thinking there's 4 central midfielders. How is this going to line up? It doesn't even make much sense. But it's a shame not to see Xavi Simons starting. It really is, because I think it's what we all want to see. I mean, when we first signed him, to me, he screamed Tottenham, in terms of the creativity, the spark, the energy, the kind of attacking football that we've been kind of known to watch, when we had Eriksen and Kane and Ali and Son and everything. So it felt like we were going kind of maybe in the right direction, kind of rebuilding this kind of attacking style of football. But Frank's obviously got some other ideas. And I mean, for once, I can't actually criticise him on the setup. I actually think he got it right yesterday in some instances, and I don't think Xavi would have complemented it very well. So I understand it, but at some point you want to try and make use of your best players. And at the moment, I wouldn't say he has done in a lot of games. We haven't seen a lot of key players really kind of show their worth and not really get in the positions. And Xavi Simons is the main one in terms of, what we know he can do, what we've seen him do at previous clubs. We haven't really seen him do it for Tottenham yet. And part of that may be him adjusting to the league, but also part of that is definitely the system. And that's why he isn't in that starting 11 at the moment. Frank's obviously had a game plan yesterday, and he obviously didn't think Xavi Simons would have executed that. So it's definitely a shame. I think we all are ready to see Xavi Simons kind of burst onto the scene, and it doesn't feel like he's going to be given the opportunity to do that at the moment.
No, that's exactly how it feels. Thank you, Joseph, again for that. First goal of the game actually went to Tottenham in the 35th minute through Richarlison. Gary, I'll come back around to you. I mean, firstly, it's a really good team goal, wasn't it? 3 or 4 players involved.
Yeah, great goal. Really impressed. I thought that Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall really linked well together throughout the entire game, not just going forward, but working back together, doubling up where needed. As one of the comments was on, I think it was YouTube a minute ago, just a comment when the wingers had it. They did slot in very well as a tandem, but equally the energy from both of them getting forward. And yeah, lovely combination, a nice little cross in, Kolo Muani knocking it back, and obviously Richarlison heading in. It was nice to see Richarlison in around that 6-yard box, actually, because we don't see that enough at the moment this season. We haven't seen that enough, and it was nice to see him in there. I've said a few times on the podcast, I think that he plays a lot better when he has a partner up front with him, and I thought that this was one of his better performances this season, and that complements obviously what Kolo Muani was doing with him. So yeah, it was nice to see the 2 young lads play really well. I enjoyed their performance quite a lot, actually. I thought Archie Gray in particular was outstanding yesterday, and I think that he does go quite under the radar for a lot of games, and unless you really sort of sit and watch it meticulously, you might miss him. And I thought he was excellent yesterday.
Agree with that personally. Thank you, Gary. Justin, we'll come to you. I mean, there's a couple of players that I want to focus on in this build-up to the goal. One of them is Lucas Bergvall. How well does he do here? Nice little movement and nice little flick.
Yeah, no, he's a smart player. Like, a lot of times I feel like he lacks composure, but I feel like he's just excited. He's one of them young players who's excited to get onto the ball. He's trying to do everything possible to make something work, and sometimes he over tries a bit. But yeah, no, he's a talented kid, and just like Gary was saying, the link up between him and Gray. And it's funny because we saw that first game of the season, and then we haven't seen them partner up since that. And yeah, no, it was good. It's good play, man.
Thank you. Philip, Archie Gray. I mean, I think he plays a big part in this goal. His ball to the back post goes back to Muani and then comes across to Richarlison. So Archie Gray, his involvement in the goal, is he quite significant in your view?
Yeah, I mean, he got the cross, perfectly across. His decision making was good, right, as well, because he could have, when he took that ball on from Bergvall, he could have, rushed it. He could have tried a low ball in, not even looked up, but you could see that he knew exactly what he was doing, right? Because he was looking for Muani on the far post, right? And if you're going to try and play to a striker who's actually, pretty big and strong in the air, which Muani is, then, if your cross is good enough, you've got a good chance of getting it back across, and it worked out perfectly. So, respect to Archie Gray for that, and, as everyone else has pretty much said so far as well. I mean, look, Archie Gray, for me, he was our best player overall, yesterday in terms of like his all-round performance. And it's probably about a month ago, or maybe even 6 weeks ago, when people started moaning about Palhinha and Bentancur, right? Kind of, offering us not that much, right? At that time, that's when, murmurings were starting, and a lot of people were calling for, Archie Gray to get a start in midfield. And then he kind of got injured, right, just after that, which was a shame. But luckily, it's not been as long as people were fearing. I mean, he's come back super quick. He looks fit. And if I'm being honest, anyways, looking at our midfield and what we need to do and what Frank needs to do, I'd start him straight away against Fulham. I think he's got to start. This is the moment where we can start him, for a little run of games. I'm not going to big him up too much, right? I know in the past I called him a mini Declan Rice, right? Which is, obviously, a lot to live up to. Bear in mind that Declan Rice seems to be getting better and better, actually. But Archie Gray's got the same kind of game, I think, for that. When he runs with the ball, he looks a bit like Declan Rice, how he dribbles. He can pass, he can tackle, he's composed. So I'm going to stop waxing lyrical about him now, but literally, Archie Gray, I think, was the absolute highlight yesterday. And I think, as Gary said, he does a lot of things in the game that you don't actually see, like unflashy things, but he can come up with moments of quality, so big respect to Archie. And he's still How is he he's still a teenager, isn't he? Is he still 19? Or is he 20 now? I think he's still 19, isn't he? Yeah. People forget that as well.
They do. Absolutely. I mean, it's fair to say, I think that the future of Tottenham is bright, with Bergvall and Archie Gray in midfield. Joseph, for you, do you mean, is that the dream first, half an hour, 35 minutes of the game to not only go to, away from home against PSG in the Champions League, to not only to prevent them from scoring in 35 minutes, but actually take the lead ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very professional first 35 minutes. I mean, mainly first half. It was a very professional first half. I mean, we went there with a game plan and we did nullify PSG. Now, obviously, the caveat to that is they were without Ousmane Dembele, they were without Desiree Doué. I mean, Ashraf Hakimi is quite an impactful player, even at right back, he can do a lot going forward. But still, they've got star quality players, and we did well against that. Again, for the first time, I think, going into half time, I think everyone was like, you know what, Frank, you've got it right. And I don't think that's something we've all said a lot recently. But I thought the game plan really nullified PSG. And, the one thing, I mean, we'll go on to the game as a whole anyway, but the fact that we scored 3 goals against a solid PSG side shows that we don't need to be this defensive all the time. We can score goals if we play the right football, if we actually try and be a bit more expansive. I mean, against Arsenal, we didn't try and be expansive. We didn't even really give it a go. The fact is, PSG, we've gone and scored 3 goals. Obviously, again, conceding 5 is an issue in that, but we obviously do have the creative ability, and we saw it from that opening goal. I mean, it was beautiful play by Bergvall. That's what you want to see from a creative player. We know he's got that in his locker. We don't get to see it enough. And lovely flick. And Archie Gray, again, a really cultured cross. It's not an easy one. You can easily overhit it or underhit it, but he gets it right on. And Colin Mwani's kind of in a... He could have done 2 things there. He could have either had the header towards goal and seen if he could score himself, but he does the right thing, nods it back across, and, Richarlison has an empty net. So it was a really good start for Spurs. I think all of us were still kind of like, yeah, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. This is Tottenham. We're used to this kind of thing, and we need to just hold on. And obviously, we see what happens just before half time. But again, it was a good first half overall, and I think Tottenham should be happy with how they played.
Thank you, Joseph. Certainly the ideal start. Justin, I'll come back round to you because, unfortunately, 10 minutes later, PSG scored, inevitably, made it 1-1 through Vitinha. Firstly, before we get into, what maybe we could have done better, I mean, what a strike. That's going to be, what probably, I would say, goal of the night at least.
Yeah, top strike. And he's a top player. Wasn't he like 3rd or something in the nominations for the Ballon d'Or? That is, he's a different type of individual. I know Wolves must be kicking themselves. They're thinking, why didn't we just hold on to him for a bit longer? But it's what can you do about them type of strikes? Obviously, before the strike, that can be dealt with. But yeah, a strike like that is top class.
Yeah, it certainly was. Out of this world from Vitinha. Gary, I come to you. I mean, I hate to be the one that asks these type of questions, but was he allowed too much time to, take several touches and then to take the shot? I mean, take nothing away from the strike.
Yes, we weren't switched on enough. There's a decent ball in, but he's standing on the edge of the 18-yard box on the D, unmarked. He's granted there's 4 or 5 players in front of him that are rushing out to him. We don't allow anybody of the quality that is in the Champions League any space or time. Unfortunately, we did it then. There is no goalkeeper in the world that's going to save that, for starters. He has hit a worldie, but we should have learnt the lesson from that. And unfortunately, it kind of happened again in the second half with him, where we stood off again and allowed him an opportunity to strike. But I'm just looking at a still photo of it now. There's actually 3 players standing on the edge of the box unmarked. It looks like Colin Moani's trying to close down. He's the closest. Everybody else is on the 6 yard. Is on the penalty spot. So we're miles behind where we need to be in that instance, and we just switched off, and their quality came through.
Yeah, it was clear to see, wasn't it, Gary? Like when that corner was taken, no one was ready for a quick corner. They went short and then played it quickly, and the Tottenham players were like, this is the thing, when you're playing such defensive style, which we did partly play yesterday with the kind of 4 banks, the 4 at the back. I mean, there was times where Archie Gray even dropped deeper and it kind of made it into a 5 as well. When you're playing against a team like PSG, you've got to be so switched on at every single moment. And that lapse in defensive kind of, or that lapse in concentration, it led to us conceding. We've done really well to kind of keep them on, a little bit further back from the edge of the box, because PSG didn't have many chances in that first half. All they were doing was kind of shooting from around 30 yards, 25 yards. And you'd rather have that than them getting into the box. But the one time we allowed them in kind of an area where, okay, this actually could be a good chance in terms of like just on the edge of the box, that's when they capitalise. And it's a shame, because we didn't deserve to concede in that first half. The way that we played, we deserved to go in 1-0 up. But it's that one moment, and Vitinha has so much quality. If you give him that kind of space on the edge, he's going to do something with it, at least test the goalkeeper. But that shot was unbelievable.
Certainly was. Thank you, Philip. I mean, we did pay the price, didn't we, of backing off and ultimately playing too deep. And it's a bad time, isn't it, to concede just before the break, so close to going into it with a 1-0 advantage. That would have been significant.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it so many times, haven't we? I mean, it's a mixture of both things, as we've said already. Number one, we could have closed it down better. We just fell asleep, as we often do. I don't know why. I mean, everyone was so deep, right? Because of the corner kind of aspect, right? They were just sitting off, and I don't know how easy it is to kind of rectify that generally, because I don't know if it was on Last Word on Spurs or on the Tottenham Way, but on one of the other kind of recorded pods, there was 1 or 2 people saying that this was an issue at Brentford as well, that they kind of actually gave away quite a lot of long shots that weren't closed down properly. And I've got no idea whether that was, the case or not. It'd be interesting to speak to a Brentford fan about that maybe. But I don't know, I don't know if it's a tactical thing. I think it's more of a player thing, just not being switched on enough, right, to be honest, and being able to kind of get in the right position. I don't think you can blame that on Frank's tactics. I think that's purely a player issue, just like getting sidetracked. And unfortunately, as Gary said, when you're playing against top quality people, whether it's the Champions League or the Premier League, anywhere at that kind of level, right, there's a good chance that they're going to get a shot on target. And unfortunately, in the case of Vitinha, he's arguably, he was third in the Ballon d'Or. He's surely one of the top 3 centre midfielders in the league. He's exactly that kind of player that actually we want. Someone who can sit deep, be a playmaker, but also kind of get himself about as well. And coupled with the other guy, Neves, in midfield. I mean, that's like one of the best centre midfields in the world, obviously. So it's difficult when you've got players like that. But then again, the players have to wake up and obviously have to be aware of that, right? Why is no one, even looking towards the likes of both of those guys? 2 of the best centre midfielders, attacking midfielders, whatever, long range shooters in the world, and no one's even kind of looking at them, And I think that's just something, that Frank and his team have got to work with the players on, But again, I mean, we'll talk about it for the rest of the game, and but we just give away goals which are kind of preventable, and you can't take anything away from the quality of that strike. But 1 minute before half time, if you're really focused, you're not giving away a goal there, and that's why we're not yet a top team, unfortunately.
Absolutely, yeah. I couldn't have put it better myself. I totally agree with that. Thank you for the honesty. I appreciate more than anything again. Thank you. Joseph, it was 1-1 at half-time. PSG 1, Tottenham 1. What were your thoughts on the first half? Who had the upper hand for you?
I mean, yeah, I was content with the first half. I was quite happy, really. I think after the last couple of performances and just maybe the performances over the last, since maybe Frank's come in, I thought I saw something which looked more solid, it looked like they had a plan, which I don't feel like I've seen a lot in the last couple of games. I mean, against Arsenal, it felt like the plan went out the window after the first goal they scored, and we just had no idea what to do to come back into it. But in this game, even after we scored, even after they scored, and going in the second half, I feel like we still had a plan of how to play. So yeah, I was happy. I still thought the game was going to be won by PSG because they've got such quality, and you just know what they're going to do. Luis Enrique has his team set up in such a good way, and the quality they have on the pitch it's far greater than what we've got. I mean, even with the kind of midfielders we've got, and I like a lot of the midfielders. I think we've got a lot of potential in Gray and Bergvall, but when you're coming up against Ruiz and Vitinha and João Neves, it's just a different level. They're one of the best midfields in the world. There's a reason they won the Champions League last year. And I just think that, PSG is such a great outfit. It was always going to be a tough one for Tottenham to win. I think we gave a good account of ourselves. And in that first half, I think we were very deserving of the 1-1 draw. We possibly could have been 1-0 up. So there's definitely positives to take. But you've got to do that for 90 minutes. And we didn't for the second 45.
Certainly didn't, unfortunately. Thank you. Justin, I'll come back round to you because moving on to the second half now, Spurs scored again to make it 2-1 through Colin Wani in the 50th minute. I mean, this is a crazy goal, isn't it, really? I mean, there was deflections absolutely everywhere until it went over the line. I mean, I don't know how many it took in the end, but it was like ping pong in and around that box. So it's crazy, but we'll take it, right?
Yeah, 100%. He looked like he's a striker who wanted to get that goal. He needed to get that goal, and especially against your parent club. You don't really normally get to play against your parent club when you're on loan. So that was a perfect opportunity. Scrappy, but we needed that. Especially, obviously, when it comes to how we normally go about our goals. It's normally going to come from a set piece or some type of crossing opportunity. So, yeah, no, he struck that lovely. And to be honest, like Marquinhos, he didn't want another strike on the head. So I rate him for even trying to block it because he literally just took the ball in the face about 5 minutes ago. So, yeah, no, great goal. And it was the momentum what we needed to go forward. But again, like normal, as we said before, we fall asleep at times, which is a shame.
100%. Oh, someone's alarm going off. But we'll move on. Well, we won't move on. We can stay to the goal, but I always move on to different parts of this goal because I think it was significant, as it always is. We speak about scoring before the break, equally important or more important, scoring just after the second half to really set you up for the rest of the game. But Joseph, I'll come back to you. I mean, good finish from Colin Wani in the end. We speak about all that kind of scrappy stuff to get to the final finish. And don't get it wrong, it still took another couple of deflections after. I think Marquinhos heads against the bar and trying to keep it out. But good finish from Colin Wani against his parent club.
Yeah, well, that was something I was going to mention. I mean, the fact that he scored 2 goals against his parent club, he really kind of, that looked like the Colin Wani that we wanted to see. That looked like the Colin Wani I saw at Juventus last year in that last kind of 6 months when he was there on loan. That's what we want to see from him. And at the moment, he's kind of put himself like, I am going to be in the starting 11 for Tottenham. He's proven that he can be that, finally up to kind of some full fitness and hopefully kind of, won't be getting any more injuries. But I mean, it comes from a set piece, obviously, that Frank has kind of improved us on, definitely. And again, Archie Gray does really well to kind of flick it kind of onto the bar almost. And that's what you need a striker to be there for, be a poacher, get that final shot on goal and get it in the net. And again, I think up until that moment, you couldn't say that we hadn't deserved it. I think we'd been very good throughout the game. PSG, again, it wasn't completely one-sided either way. It was a close game, but, again, you just never feel comfortable being a Spurs fan, and you just knew the next goal was going to be a PSG one. And obviously that, it comes from a similar situation as the first goal with Vitinha, a bit of moment of excellence from him.
Absolutely. Special player indeed. But I want to keep on this second goal very, very briefly. Well, second goal for us. Philip, I mean, it was a great start to half, wasn't it, really? To score within 5 minutes. I mean, it can easily be quite, I don't know, damaging to a side and the confidence when you concede like we did just before the break. If I've been honest with you, I expect us to come out in the second half. Don't get me wrong, not looking awful, but I thought it would hit us just conceding just before the break, maybe because of confidence. And I was worried that we could even collapse. So was that something that concerned you? And are you impressed that we didn't? We come out of the blocks flying and got that goal which we deserved.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we conceded after the weekend against the other lot. We conceded after 40 seconds, didn't we? After coming out as well, so I think we've always got that worry. But to be fair, we came out and we kept on playing in the right way. I mean, I can only think that, in half time, despite obviously not going in 1-0 ahead, the team talk would have been very much, great performance, right? Keep it going. You can kind of damage PSG, right? If you get into the right positions. So just keep doing what you're doing. And we went out there and the players kind of carried it out, right? So absolutely fair play to them. And, that goal from Moani, I had the pleasure of watching him, right, for a season at Eintracht here. I've got a season ticket. I saw him do that kind of thing on multiple occasions, right, where he's just got the power. He's got the verve, to get past the player like a defender so easily, and his finishing is outstanding, right? When he's kind of on it, So I'm just happy that he's finally showing what he can do for us. I think someone mentioned it in the chat earlier on YouTube, but he finally looks fit. That's the thing. You can tell he's got more energy about him, Yeah, that's the one there. He's got more verve, right? He's you can just see it, right? You can see when he's running around. You can see when he's there was, I think later on in the game, he took on he went on a little run, didn't he? And he took on 2-3 defenders. That's what he can do as well. So, touch wood, hopefully he kind of continues to stay injury free, let's say. I mean, he's already had 2 injuries this season, hasn't he? So hopefully he can not make it a hat trick and then, keep showing what he can do.
You know what, as well, Philip? I think that's something we've missed. Sorry, Harry. I think that's something we've missed. Other than Kudus, really, we don't have a player that is willing to really take on players. Yeah. We don't have that player who really wants to run at somebody with the ball. And if Colomwani can be that would be such a good kind of thing to, another string and our bow, really, something that can kind of scare people a bit more. Because when you really think about it, when you look at the Tottenham kind of front three, unless Odebear might play, sometimes he can do it. We don't have enough kind of danger, enough to scare a defence. And if Colomwani can bring that to the team, it adds a whole new element, doesn't it?
It does.
He's trying to prove a point to multiple people, isn't he? He's not started well for Tottenham. Let's be fair about it, the injuries, but he's also going into his back garden and saying, "This is what you could have if you would have kept me here." Says, you've let me go multiple times to go to different clubs. Juventus last season, Tottenham this season. I'm going to show you what you're missing. And I think that was his. Clearly, that was the best performance he's put in a Tottenham shirt. But I think it was trying to appease 2 sets of fans yesterday, and I think he done it.
Yeah, I mean, as Philip, I think you said it earlier, didn't you? In terms of you very rarely play against your parent club, of course, different rules in Europe, etc. So it's a rare occasion when you go. Usually it's against former club, or you never really get to say against your parent club. So they go a good one to remember for Moani.
Can I just say quickly on Moani again, though, right? As Joseph said, he is probably the only other player that we have at the moment who can drive at players and make them scared, and probably pull runners away as well. And fact remains that he can play on the left or on the right. He can play wide, and he's proven that in the past. So just putting it out there that, of course, we want him in the middle, right? We want him scoring those goals like he did yesterday, but he can score goals from the flanks as well. So it could be interesting just looking at how we progress through the season, whether we get our left-hand side sorted, or at least that, you know, whether it's Xavi, whether it's Odebert, whether it's even Bergval, who knows, right? But I think he offers us just much more than that number 9 still, you know, if we really want to use him maybe in some games, as Frank likes to kind of change it sometimes, you know, he gives us that flexibility, I think.
Yeah, very good shout. Absolutely. Thank you, Philip, for that input there. PSG then responded within 3 minutes, unfortunately, through Vitinha, again, his second of the night at the time, to make it 2-2. I mean, Justin, I'll come back to you. I mean, we didn't learn our lesson, did we, from the first goal? Again, too much space, didn't close down, backed off when we went ahead and paid the price.
This is the problem. We just fell asleep. We got the goal, I get it. Everyone's excited. No one's expecting us to do this. And yeah, just fell asleep again. And that was the disappointing bit, is to go and do the same thing. And if I remember, we basically did the same thing against the Scum before as well, just giving way too much space in places you should never give that space. So a lot of the times, naturally, you want to go blame the manager, but again, it's on the players. It's on the players to understand that you've just gone a goal up. We did this just before, so let's not do the same mistake. And yeah, again, just players just not doing their job.
Incredibly frustrating, Justin. Thank you. Gary, I'll come to you. I mean, Vitinha, again, I'm going to be saying this quite a few times, I'm sure, tonight, but done really well. And although we did back off and, you know, give him space again, he had less space than he had for the first goal. So he does really well, just need to wiggle through his first defenders and score.
Yeah, I mean, he's moved 5, 6, 7 yards unmarked, picks the ball up, and then is still progressing into the box. And there's 2 or 3 players meeting him, but again, he's just shifted it and shot. It's not Vicario's fault. It's going for a number of bodies. We're just switching off in critical areas, and it's one of the things that I find really frustrating at the moment is that when we can defend, but we can't score. And then when we can score, we can't defend. And at the minute, we can't seem to get a marriage between the two. But we can't keep gifting goals. We're giving, and we're given another one literally, 10, 15 minutes later again. We keep giving people goals. We have to stop these silly little errors. Otherwise, we're just not going to progress. It's very frustrating to watch at times.
Absolutely. It's just so unnecessary as well. You know, to go to PSG and get a result, or to go to PSG and put in a really good performance isn't, you know, for the faint-hearted. There's a really, you know, big task on your hands. And for me, we're nearly there, and you just let ourselves down with these individual errors, which, you know, certainly more than 1 or 2 in this game. So incredibly frustrating. Philip, I mean, the lead didn't last long, did it? Are you surprised in a way, because the game was like a, you know, kind of yo-yo tennis match, backs and forwards, and PSG again responded within 3 minutes?
I mean, nothing surprises really like that, does it? When, especially playing PSG, I mean, they've proven that they can. If they turn it on, then they've got so many world class like players, right, in the top 5 in their position, right, in the world, that they can just make those moments of magic. But again, you know, when you give away 2 goals in quick succession, which, you know, are literally present, you know, Christmas has come early and all that, like literally. I mean, that's where it gets disappointing, you know, as Gary said as well. I mean, Frank's managed to get us more secure, like defensively, you know, also probably playing, you know, when teams are attacking us, we're not as open at the back, you know, so he's managed to sort that out. And generally speaking, you know, we do look better on, I would say, overall, we look better on free kicks and crosses and corners, right? I know we've had, you know, the United goal recently as well, but we're looking better. But when you then give away just like stupid goals like that, and the second one's just, it's just like a missed kick, isn't it? Really, from memory, like we have the opportunity to clear it, and Sarr, well,
That's the third.
Oh, sorry, yeah, okay, sorry,
no, that's
sorry,
the fourth.
That's the fourth. Yes, sorry, that's the fourth. I'm actually
How many goals?
I'm just looking at the.
I'm actually
getting the second goal from Vitinha. and he's got it on the edge of the box. There's 1, 2, 3 players next to him. One is trying to close him down, and then just in front of him is Bentancur and Romero. And as he shoots, if Bentancur just stays like this, it hits him directly in the chest. But he doesn't. He moves like this, and it goes past him and in. If it had just stood still, it hit him straight in the chest. I'm just watching it now in the replay. It just stood. Honestly, if it had just stood like this, that would hit him on the chest. It wouldn't have gone in. And it's just little things like that, being brave in there. He's pulled away. He's got scared. He's pulled himself away, and it's gone in. I didn't notice that in real time. I'm just looking at it now.
I think there is one
really
thing
poor
to look at. Like, this is one thing that, I mean, obviously, again, we played Arsenal, we played PSG, 2 of the best teams in Europe. Conceded 9 goals, which obviously doesn't look good in 2 games. But the one thing I noticed from both games is the amount of goals that are coming in between the midfield and the defence. Kind of in that kind of one little space where the defence is a bit too deep and the midfield's a bit too high. Eze kept on getting into that space against us, which is on the edge of the box. And it's in a great opportunity to get a shot off. And obviously, Vitinha's kind of scored 2 goals from that space too. So is it the defence is maybe sitting too deep? I don't know. I don't really know. But that's got to be something that needs to be addressed, because players in and about that area, when you're playing in the Premier League and the Champions League, if they get a little bit of space, like just around the edge of the box, like in between the penalty spot on the edge of the D, if they're in that spot, they're going to put a shot on target, and most likely it's going to be in the corner where a keeper can't reach it. And I think pretty much all 3 of Eze's goals came from that area.
Yep.
2 of Vitinha's goals came from that area. Like, that's got to be something that needs to be looked at, because, you know, I think all Tottenham fans sit there and go, our defence is our best kind of part of our team in terms of the personnel. When you've got Van der Ven, Romero, Doggy, you know, Porro, Spence, you've got quite a solid back 4. Maybe they're sitting a bit too deep and we're too scared. Maybe we're trying to play too defensive, because if they're stepping up about 3, you know, maybe, you know, 3 steps, 4 steps, they're kind of more in that area. Players aren't going to be so open in that spot. And okay, maybe, yeah, you've got to watch out for going in behind, but that's something that you've also got to defend, you know, with pace. We've got a lot of speed in our back line. I don't know. I just think it's something that needs to be looked at, because that's where most of Arsenal's goal came from. And 2 of PSG's goals came from that same area too. So it's definitely something that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right to highlight that. Thank you, Joseph. And also, Gary's spot on, by the way, with Bentancur. You know, he sent it over here. I'm just having a look. I mean, literally, he hasn't got a move.
No.
He hits it. I know, easier said than done, and in hindsight, but that he ducks away from that. I'm not saying it's deliberate or anything like that, but maybe she's seen the ball coming and it's a natural response. But it doesn't look good from Bentancur, because that doesn't go in. No. If he almost holds his ground, he's not got to do a lot. He's not going to throw his body towards the ball. He's
that
only
shouldn't
got to
be a natural response from a footballer, though, should it?
No,
of course it
should just be taking it. He should just be taking it in the chest.
I haven't seen it. The only thing I can imagine is maybe he's scared of like a handball or something. But if it's like straight on,
here.
Yeah, then there's nothing, you know, a footballer should be jumping in the way of that. I mean, we see Romero do it later on in the game, trying to jump in the way of something and give it away.
This is what I was saying about Marquinhos. He took the ball
exactly. That's your job.
Mwani's gone and struck it, and he's jumped in the way, and the ball's hit him in the face, and obviously hit the crossbar and went in, compared to Bentancur just turning out the way.
It's your job. You know, it's what you're supposed to be there to do. So, you know, he shouldn't be jumping out the way, being a professional footballer, getting paid all that.
You're absolutely right. It just, obviously you can laugh now, but it's just so frustrating. So I'm just going to laugh it off instead, because obviously it just annoyed me.
It just highlights, as Joseph said, though, that the defence is too deep in those moments, probably, and the midfield is just completely ineffective. The midfield is either too high then, right? So you've just always got these massive gaps between defence and midfield. And then when you got players like Romero wanting to try and create something, you know, he's kind of having to, you know, be forced to take a bit of extra risk on those passes. And I mean, that was just a disaster, like full stop. But if the midfield, from a positional perspective, is just more effective, you know, and someone, whoever it is, if it's Bentancur or the other guy coming deeper to get the ball, right, or to go into space, be more mobile, then that topic's not even that doesn't come close to being a goal, right? You're not giving away possession there. So it just shows again, though, that, do you know what I mean? Like it's the ineffectiveness of the midfield, and probably the defense just sitting too deep for whatever reason. But you know, like they're not.
Yeah, that's the thing, Philip. If you're going to set up deep, you need the defence to be kind of on the edge of the box. You need the midfield to be on the edge of the box. You need the midfield to be mitigating those kind of creative players trying to get in those spaces. You want like two lines of bodies behind the ball. Whereas
the closest player to the goal, Tottenham-wise, is Bentancur.
Yeah, but it's just there's so many. I think personally, especially if Tottenham, the way that Tottenham want to play and should want to play, the defense should be the ones on the edge of the box. They should be there. And, we've got maybe some of the midfielders are dropping in and helping out, but they should be the ones on the edge of the box most of the time. And we need to play a little bit higher up because, look, as much as I know the defence was poor last year, we showed that we do have speed in the back line. We showed that we can defend sometimes playing a tiny bit higher. I'm not saying, again, go to what we were with Ange, but I just think you can be a little bit more brave and believe in your team a bit more. And maybe trust your midfielders to try and win the ball back, higher up the pitch rather than having to sit really so far back and try and block shots all the time. I don't think it's ever going to be successful unless you're playing against a team who maybe haven't got the quality up front to really punish you from those areas.
Yeah, we just gave too much gap, too much space for him to take the ball on and then shift it and then score. He's moved like 10 yards nearly. The third goal is what annoys me more than anything is Romero being stupid in critical area. This is the one that annoys me. And Harry, I'm going to send you this photo as well because I'm watching the goal now. And sorry to jump in. If you're going on to the third goal, Romero's on the 18-yard box. He's got a player behind him on the penalty spot and a player on the D, so about 3 yards in front of him. The closest player to him is marked, and then the next player to him is Sarr, who has two players, one behind him and one stood next to him, and he decides to pass it to him rather than Pedro Porro that is sitting on the stand on the touchline. Just put your foot through it. You're taught as a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old. I've done all my coaching badges. If you are in trouble, get that ball through. This is a World Cup winning centre back playing a 10-yard ball into a player facing his own goal with two players on him. That is the biggest frustration of yesterday for me, is seeing stupid little mistakes like that and trying to overplay in critical areas. We are not good enough to be doing it.
Yeah.
It's not like he hasn't got any options either. I mean, I get it's not like completely free, but he's got options around him, even if he for some reason doesn't put his foot through it.
He's got an option to his right, which is Pedro Porro standing on the touchline, no one around him. His best option is to shift it a yard and smash it up the field because he knows the players behind him, he knows one's in front of him, and he knows Sarr is marked because he can see him. That for me yesterday is what I find most frustrating with him as a footballer. He tries to overplay when he doesn't need to. And I knew that was going to happen. You could just see it yesterday. You can just see it in him.
I think the other thing is you need to recognise game state. Like, they've just scored a goal to make it 2-2. They're in the ascendancy. They're going to be pressing us high. Just be a bit smarter in that moment. Maybe, okay, Frank wants you to play out from the back. Okay, you can do that at times. But in that moment, do you really need to? Just relieve the pressure and try and let the intensity go down a minute and carry on playing your football. But instead, I mean, how quick was the Fabian
6
goal?
6 minutes.
6 minutes after they scored. You just use your brain for a moment and realise, okay, we need to calm this game down. If that means kick it long and relieve the press, do it. Just for that one.
Vicario can even do it, right? Vicario can just kick it long straight away without even going into this short pass thing at the back. But okay, it might not be your game plan, but in game, sometimes your game plan changes as the game evolves, as the game happens. You've got to recognise game state and realise, okay, for now, just for this minute, let's just release the tension, release the pressure, and slow the game down again and get it back to our pace rather than allowing PSG to keep up with the ascendancy and keep pushing and using that goal to fuel another one. It's just kind of, we allowed them to do that. And that's, again, something that the players on the pitch need to recognise really in that situation more than Frank.
You're right. Sometimes you just got to, show a bit of backbone and prove you're a human being. You can take some instincts because, don't get me wrong, Frank isn't innocent. Like Arsenal, for example, for me, got it wrong. But sometimes I think, come on, as players, get yourself together. I think the body language, like if you go back to Arsenal, some of the time was just really poor after conceding. That for me, you can't really, it's not really on a manager for me too much anyway, that body language. So not innocent, of course, but I think a lot of it is, the players, just how I feel. And of course, upstairs too. But can I ask you, Justin, with this third PSG goal, I mean, it is clinical from Ruiz, isn't it? We can talk about mistakes here, there, and everywhere. I get that it's frustrating because it's the first time that PSG lead in the game, but we have got to recognise that it's still a finish from a really clinical striker.
Yeah, this is what happens with top quality. You're going to get top quality finishes, and that's one of the things what we lack a lot is the quality in our team. But what can you do? When you're taking on teams like this, you can't give them no type of chances. They're going to all be killers and they will deal with you. But then Tottenham's luck's the same thing. We could do this against Wolves and they'll score a goal. It's just our luck at the moment. I just feel like players just need to go back to the old school ways of if there's a problem, just boot it diagonal, offer a throw in, done. Give your team a bit of time to reset back up. But it's the worst thing is because Romero will pull off some great passes. But a lot of his passes are forced because there's no one who's going to be willing to take the ball off him and do a better pass. So I noticed a lot of times he does force these type of passes. But yeah, it really wasn't his night that night. It really wasn't his night. But yeah, top quality finish again. Every single goal from what I see, like Vicario, there's no way he's saving any of these, to be honest. So you just have to just take it on the chin and move on.
100%. Justin, can I stick with you for that full PSG goal then in the 65th minute? I mean, did it feel for you that it was starting to slip away at this point, the goal before PSG led for the first time, then they get another to end that kind of cycle of that ping pong that I spoke about, that tennis match, you score, I'll score kind of thing, because they made it 4-2 at the time. Because for me, I looked at this and just thought, we've collapsed here. Yeah,
no, I thought that was it. I'm not going to lie. I thought, here we go. This could get to 6. This could get to 7. But I get that we're versus a big team. I get we're in a big stadium. It's a big match. I understand all that side of it. I just don't understand how mentally everyone can collapse. I just don't get it. And the people we class as leaders are supposed to step up and just say, like, obviously I'm not going to swear, but just wake up, pay attention. What are you doing? Like, everyone just keep calm. And we've got a lot of players who just can't do that. And that was one of them pressure times where I thought, this could just be embarrassing. And obviously you've got the scum down the road. I don't like to think about them, but they're telling me they score while I'm watching the game. So it's not making it easier for me. So well done for them not completely messing the bed and turning this into like that horrible buying game.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll tell you
it's always harder.
Sorry for interrupting, but I'll tell you what, Justin. I think the one thing that I'm a little bit worried about with Tottenham is I still can see there's a massive mentality problem. I think everyone was kind of hoping that after the Europa League win, that would kind of slowly fade away and Tottenham would start becoming a team that truly believe in themselves again. But we can't see it at all. Like you said, Harry, after the the body language from some of the players when we were losing to Arsenal. Yeah, okay, I understand you're losing to Arsenal, your rivals, but you're the ones that can affect it. You're just down on yourselves. You're feeling sorry for yourselves. I mean, you should be feeling sorry for the fans, not for yourselves. You're the ones who can go out there and do something about it.
Yeah.
And like Justin said,
that was like the one thing what Ange's qualities, what I loved is he always focused on that winning. So when you've got someone as the head of the camp telling everyone that consistently, obviously we took batterings in that last season, but it's consistently focused on winning and taking the risk of winning. And I feel like Frank is more on the competing instead of the winning part of it. And I feel that's what Ange added for our mentality. So we was capable of beating Man U, not even on our best day, and we were still capable of doing that job. I just feel like that's what we're missing again, is someone who's going to be saying, look, I don't care, we're going to win. I don't care, we're going to win, even if we don't win. But the fact that you're going to continuously push for it, and the mentality of our players, and we gradually lose it, but we have to remember we've lost so many pivotal people in our team. who can bring that winning bit out of the team. Yeah, we just need to let them. And the funny thing is, it's the young ones who are going to bring it right now. It's the young ones who have got no fear, like Gray, Bergvall, Tell, Odobert. A lot of these players don't have fear yet, so they're going to try and do things what might frustrate us, but they're prepared to take that risk. And Cole Romero took a crazy risk and done some foolishness for a goal, but there's different levels of taking risks, and I feel like mentality side, especially Arsenal. I just knew we weren't going to do well at Arsenal just because, again, we're just scared. Same as Stamford Bridge. I just feel like we're scared.
But we weren't last year.
And this is what I'm saying. Whereas now, I just feel like that it's creeping back in. So I'm hoping someone starts kicking the players up. And Paulinho, funny enough, looks like that type of player who looks angry when we're not playing well. And that's what we need. We need a couple more arseholes. We've got rid of a lot of ours who cared. Like even Højbjerg, I wasn't the biggest fan of him, but he moaned. He moaned a lot. So he wanted to win. He didn't want to lose. And we definitely need that mentality.
I think the other thing,
I think having that mentality is a great thing to have, and being not afraid or anything like that, not being scared, and trying to find those winning mentality. But you look at those 4 goals. The 3 goals you're on. They're all errors that we could have prevented by just basic football. First goal, we gave it too much space. We switched off and critical error 1 minute before. Second goal, exactly the same. Third goal, our own downfall, playing in stupid tight areas. They're all just basic errors that we've made. That's not a winning mentality. That's switching off and not being aware of what's going on around you. And the elite player, such as PSG, will punish you. And as they did, they took those chances where we could have scored in. We had other chances. What our players at the moment are in that elite mindset of what we've got with PSG. Unfortunately, Arsenal and Chelsea as well.
No, I get what you mean, Gary. I just think in terms of that mentality thing, it's not more for the first 2, maybe the final 2. I feel like I think because the players get down on themselves and they start thinking, oh, well, we're not going to win this. We're not good enough to beat this PSG team. They do kind of lose a bit of focus and they stop kind of believing in themselves. And I don't know, maybe we saw that a little bit with Sarr. I don't know, just in terms of that situation where it feels like it should be an easy clearance for him. Maybe it is just a mistake, but I don't know. I just feel like these players really do feed into that kind of negative energy.
I get that, but they are simple things you would do on a daily basis. Sarr does not want that ball with him facing his own goal, with a guy up his arse and a guy standing a yard next to him. He does not want that ball. That's on your captain that can see it. I've sent Harry another photo. I'm quite like doing this at the moment of the vision behind the goal. He just needs to clip it 10 yards over the top of him and it's going straight to Mawani's feet. They are just simple little things that we're making mistakes. And I think that they're so preventable by being switched on and being aware of what's happening in and around you, because this is the elite of the elite. This is, we've just played the 2 best teams on the planet in the space of 4 days. But we've gifted so many goals to both of them that were just simple mistakes that I would have gone mental at coaching the lads team down the road. They're just very frustrating, very frustrating. And I think the 4th is equally as frustrating.
Yeah, 100%. I tell you what, we'll move on to that 4th just now. Well, not from PSG. Tell you what, we'll come to that after, because I want to talk about Spurs' goal to make it 4-3 through Kylan Mwani, because Philip, it was a brace for Kylan Mwani. I mean, that's rain in the stars, wasn't it? Really. I mean, we'll speak about him having a point to prove. I mean, getting a brace. I mean, it just feels perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the other way around, wasn't it? Like, obviously Eze did it to us kind of like in the worst way possible. But I mean, Mwani came back and proved himself again to the fans, but he also showed us what he can do for the first time. And he's on a bit of a little run now. But again, that goal, he got a bit lucky, I think, with the kind of mini little deflection, the rebound, right? When he tried to go past the defender, Pacho, I think it was. And the defender got a bit unlucky as well, to be fair. But if you don't try, you don't get. And that's what Kolo did in that moment. He tried it, and his pure power took him past the defender, and it left him free. And again, he scored goals similar to that for Frankfurt for fun that season a couple of years ago. If you give him space like in front of the box, and there's literally one defender or two defenders in front of him, and he can run at them, then he's going to create so much danger, either for himself to finish or to hopefully pass it to another one of our players. So again, great for him to turn up and get the brace and the assist right as well. On top of that for Richarlison's goal. So really, really good performance. And to be honest, he's probably not even 100% fit. I've said he looks fit now, but he's still getting there, isn't he? He's still getting minutes in him. He's not played the whole time because he had his his jaw topic as well. So hopefully he's just going to get even better. But I felt really happy for him as well that he could kind of score, in the Parc des Princes as well, right in front of the Paris fans. To be honest, like that, I think he'll have felt really good about that.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. But yeah, it was a really good night from Wani. Hopefully, he can really now kick on from this. Is what I hope anyway. We could do with someone to make that striker position there, can sort out a lot of our problems, I think, in attack. But just going to jump back to a previous moment because I've finally managed how to show this on screen. So it's what Gary was saying about Romero. It took me ages, and I'm not meant to be the tech one for my generation, but I'm clearly not. Anyway, we've got it up on screen. So Romero's here. I mean, Gary, you're probably about to talk to me there, but look, Sarr clearly doesn't want the ball. He's got plenty of options.
He doesn't want that ball. The other angle shows that to the right, it's just out of shot. If Pedro Porro standing there with nobody around him, if Romero just shifts that half a yard, he could clip it to Porro. He's obviously quite worried about Kvaratskhelia there on the left, but equally, he could just clip it over the top of those players. It's such an easy ball, but he's forced that. He's got a guy right up. Yeah, there you go. So slightly out of shot. And I think if you can zoom that out a little bit, you might be okay. But you might. Here's me pointing on the screen, like you can see what I'm doing. My Andy Gray magic marker coming on here. But just in the top left hand corner, just under the PSG bit, under the time, Pedro Porro is standing there completely free. It's frustrating, but equally, look where Mickey van der Ven is. If you go back to the other picture, look at where Mickey van der Ven is, right at the bottom of this, right at the bottom of the screen. That's the other centre half. That's Mickey van der Ven.
What's he doing there?
And then on the edge of the box is Archie Gray. We're too.
So what happened there?
They obviously have a way that they plan to play out from the back, but when you've got a press like PSG are doing here, where there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players all pushing up. Just again, if it doesn't work out, you just take a touch and clear it. Even if it doesn't go to a Spurs player, at least you've relieved that pressure and they have to come up the pitch again. Okay, it's not perfect, but it avoids a goal. And instead, he's tried to play a neat pass into Pape Sarr, who's then got to play a one-touch pass somewhere else, one-touch pass, and it's all too neat and tidy when you've got such a, again, in that game state, you've got energy from the PSG players all pressing you high, all wanting to get the ball back, all wanting to, try and get the next goal after scoring one about 5-6 minutes later. It's just, it's just recognizing where you're in that moment. And sometimes just clearing the ball as far as you can or clearing it out of play is better than allowing them to have the ball in this spot.
Plus, it's about knowing your personnel. If I understand if that would have been Maddison, Kulu, Xavi, or Kudos, but you've knocked it to Sarr. Sarr isn't that type of player to be able to do that, and especially the timing as well. It's just why would? But yeah, that's Romero sometimes when he just does some bozo things.
Yeah. And if I bring up the next one, if we move on to this is what Gary was saying about Bentancur. So that's the first picture there. So you can't really see it. Well, we can see that Bentancur at the moment, look, it looks like it could hit him if it doesn't hit kind of Bergvall. But then you'll see if I bring up the one now that actually, what he does do is turn his body, which is totally the wrong thing to do. So this picture that's coming up on your screen about now, hopefully, will show that, look, where he's just turned to the side. and it's gone past him. It's just incredibly frustrating. So just to go back, he's gone from that hits him straight away to that.
Just take it on the chin. Take it on the chin. Unfortunately, yeah, maybe it hurts, but bloody hell. Gets paid about 70 grand a week and go get a nose job.
Yeah, it's frustrating to see.
That's got to be blocked.
These things we probably... I mean, I didn't pick that up during the game. I've picked that up listening to you guys talk, and on part of my screen I've got the replay of the game on, so I can just clip the goals. But I noticed that right at the end, and then it's just that's savable. Romero is an error. This is obviously preventable rather than savable. There's 2 goals taken off, and that's before we even look at the corner for the first one. They're just preventable errors. This is what I keep coming up, and the description that I keep saying is that if we keep making errors in small critical, let me put it better. I've wrote it down. We're the architect of our own downfall so much because we overplay entire unnecessary areas. So that's an unnecessary error. And then we're switching off. Those are 2 basic things that we've all played football. They're so basic. And we shouldn't be getting that from a World Cup win.
They've learned that from last year. Like last year, we let in so many goals from doing the exact same thing, from passing it about at the back, from not closing down in time. So you'd think naturally that's one thing as a group of players who just shredded so many goals last season and finished 17th. That alone would be like, you lot, let's make sure we're not going to be mucking about. Defensive game. And plus the number one rule, what we used to learn even at school, is as soon as you score a goal, you have to lock in, because that's the time you're more likely to let in a goal. And we just do it back to back. We do it for fun.
Yeah. It's the golden rule of Football Manager. It's so annoying. You concede on that game, and I can tell you most of the time you're going to concede within 2 or 3 minutes if you don't slot in a little bit. It's so frustrating on a simulator, and it still happens in real life just as much as on a computer game. You are right. It's just you're taught it. So I don't know why we keep doing it.
Does Romero? Does Romero have to be doing maybe a bit more or a bit better as captain? Like in situations like that, or in game states? Because I mean, that's where you need the leadership to come from, isn't it? From the captain first of all, and then you've got your leadership team. One of those is Vicario. One of them is Mickey van der Ven. Maybe there's another one as well, but surely Matters.
But it seems like they're part of the issue, though, isn't it?
They are. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
But
Mickey van der Ven's well out of position. None of these goals are on Vicario. Not one goal.
No, and Vicario can't affect too much sometimes. No. I mean, obviously, it's maybe when he's got the ball at his feet.
Is Romero. Yeah, and 2 of the goals are Romero.
Well, let's be honest with you, they're 5 preventable goals. I think if you look at every single one, I think we could do so much better. I really do. And I know it's easy to sit here in hindsight, but it's 5 goals and people go, but what about that strike from Vitinha? Close him down. Stop backing him off. But literally, it's not like we even stay where we are. Vitinha, for that first goal, they actually go backwards. We retract and let him walk in the box. I've never seen anything like that from the poorest defensive teams. The minimum they would do is kind of hold their ground. They won't rush out, and that's bad enough. We just literally backed off. He could have taken another 5 touches, and that's what's the concerning thing. But let's finish the PSG review because we'll move on to Fulham and make sure the Premier League podcast still goes ahead. But I want to talk about, we spoke about him so many times, but Vitinha, he got a hat-trick as well. So to make it 5-3 was his and PSG's last goal of the game. And it was the one with the Romero handball. So I'd start with you, Gary. I mean, it definitely is handball, right? So I don't, not to talk too much about that, but cherry on top for PSG from the spot to kind of seal the deal and stop any, dramatic or kind of chaotic late Spurs comeback again.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fantastic footballer, and he showed it on a big stage. But if you're diving in feet first and your hand is up here, you're in trouble. There is no. We've all played football, like I say. We've all probably tackled. I've never tackled going into a player like that unless I'm trying to hurt them, which I never did. Unless you're trying to hurt somebody, I don't know why he's doing that. Equally, I've never gone with one hand up like this. That's not natural. It's ridiculous. It's just, again, he's lost. He does this relatively often. But yeah, fair play to Coutinho. He's a fantastic footballer. They've got a great centre midfield. I mean, you look at Neves, he's 21, Coutinho 25, and Ruiz, I think it's 30, something like that. And I mean, that's an experienced midfield. Whereas we're playing with a 19-year-old, a 20 and a 23-year-old with an age in Bentancur. So they're a great football team. All credit to Coutinho, fantastic footballer. They deserve to win. I always thought their quality would come through. But like you said, Harry, just before the question, they have 5 easily preventable goals. We've only really ourselves to blame on those.
That's just a frustrating thing. I mean, I don't mind losing to a top team, which we did, but I do mind when we could have got something from the game because we actually played really well. That's the frustrating thing. But Joseph, I hate to say it, but Vitinha was the second player in less than a week to score a hat-trick against us. I mean, that's not good read, is it, for Thomas Frank, who prides himself on his defence. He's an attacking manager. I do still believe that, but we up until recently have been defensively sound. So this will concern him when 9 goals conceded, 2 games, and 2 players scoring hat-tricks against us.
Yeah, I mean, a second midfielder as well, to kind of, I mean, I guess you could say, Eze is more of a creative, kind of creative midfielder, kind of a part of the attack, but he is playing a bit deeper. And just a real, again, I think, what I said previously about that kind of space in between the defence and the midfield is glaring in terms of the fact that 6 goals have come from that kind of one position. So yeah, it's definitely something he's got to look at. And I mean, we've got a massive game coming up against Fulham, which we'll get onto in a minute. But yeah, it's a real shame. We've played defensively well in throughout the season so far. You would say there's been quite a lot of positives to take, especially after what last season was. Maybe it's kind of exaggerating how well we're playing defensively this year. Maybe it's looking a bit better when you're looking at it with maybe some rose-tinted glasses from the defensive work that we had last year. But I don't know, it feels like he's struggling to find that balance. Like Gary said earlier, it feels like we can defend one week and can't attack, and then next week we can attack and we can't defend. So there needs to definitely be some adjustments. I think overall, it's one of the games he can be more happy with in recent weeks and months, because I think he did have a game plan that was working well. And if it wasn't for individual errors, we probably would be, coming out with that with a point at least. But again, PSG are one of the better sides in Europe. There's a reason, they are the champions of the Champions League, and they're going to be in with a shout to try and win it again. They've got absolute quality all over the pitch. And like I said, not to mention they were missing some, world beaters in terms of Desiree Doué. Ousmane Dembele didn't start the game. Achraf Hakimi out injured. Like, that team's only going to get better. So it's going to be. I think Tottenham are always going to find it hard in the Champions League. I don't think it's something that we should be prioritising truly. I think the league is going to be a much more important avenue in terms of trying to re-qualify for European football. But it's one of those games. I think I don't feel too unhappy about it, but it's still kind of highlighting that we need to start getting some results going into this, kind of winter period in the Premier League, especially.
100%. Thank you, Joseph. And the last action of the game was 93rd minute red card where Hernandez at PSG got sent off. Didn't really see it at the time. I kind of missed it, so I don't really know what happened there.
He just elbows Xavi Simons in the face. It was It was really weird. It felt bad for Xavi Simons as well. Obviously, not playing much of the game, comes on the pitch and just gets a sweet one in the nose. But there's a straight red card, no doubt about it. But it's too late at that point. There was only about 2 minutes left of the game.
Okay, I saw us walking out of the room and I saw Simmons was the player that was down, and I know the Spurs were unhappy. Well, I was listening to it at the time, the commentator was like, yeah, nothing in that, he's gone down easily. I'm like, hang on a minute.
Yeah, the commentator
really?
was grilling him.
Really?
Oh, it's so dramatic.
Yeah.
It's so
He went
dramatic.
for him.
No, it was
He
a
kept it so
the player did
dramatic.
it on
And I think
purpose. It was
you
so
could-
obvious.
Yeah, you could see it from the actual live action. So when I'm listening to the commentator grilling Xavi, I'm thinking, wait until you watch the replay and you can see his elbowed him.
Why
Disgusting.
do they do that? They just stitch themselves up, commentators. If you can't, if they haven't seen it on replay, because they have screens in there where they are, if they haven't seen it, don't say anything. Be quiet. Sometimes silence is a great thing. I just think they stitch themselves up, and amount of times they've done it.
I think it's
Why?
become fashionable for commentators to start saying how soft the game is now. So they're straight on the kind of thing of, that's weak. There's nothing in that one. There's nothing in that one. Well, if you really look at it, there was a lot in that one. He's just full on elbowed him in the face. So, yeah, it is what it is. But unfortunately, it doesn't really mean much for Tottenham.
It doesn't. It ended 5.
When I produced content for entertainment, I always tell the commentary people to let the action speak, and sometimes silence is actually okay. I think a lot of commentators are scared to not be saying something every 2 seconds and let's just saying words for the sake of saying words. You can let silence, and it's okay. And I think sometimes the commentators just get scared and think they need to say something all the time. And I think in that case, it was one of them that they didn't need to say anything. It looked soft from in live, but just that replay came very, very quickly, and it was quite clear.
So the goal scored as well. And just hear the crowd, especially if it's a significant moment, a late goal. Stop trying to have your moment and making it yours. But
I think some of those commentators love their own voice, don't they?
Oh, they do.
Plus,
yeah, absolutely.
I just looked at it as like, why was Xavi just fake right now? There's no chance of us coming back. Like, you don't gain nothing. Like, even if we'd have scored a free kick from there, like, I think we'd have had like an extra minute, if that. Like, you're not gaining nothing. That's why I just thought, okay, he's definitely contacted him there. And then, or just ask a question. I don't know why commentators just don't say, oh, what's happened here? Just a simple thing. Let everyone think to see, instead of just straight up just talking just for the fun of it.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree with that. Thank you. But ended 5-3 PSG. Let's very quickly, a couple of questions before we move on to Fulham. Firstly, I'll start with you, Gary. I mean, better performance for you than we saw against Arsenal. I read that the XG was 39 times higher in this game.
I mean, it was night and day different, wasn't it, really? I think our XG was 0.07, which is the lowest ever. And this one was like 1.74. So, a lot happier with the performance. I hope there was a lot of positives. As I say, the biggest issue was we were architect for our own downfall. However, there was a clear big reaction from Sunday. For me, going forward, if we can limit those areas, keep that energy high in the midfield. I did like that diamond that we played at times in that 4. When we're out of possession, keep that energy high. Sorting the clear balance issue that we have on the left-hand side. We desperately need left-sided football players. And I think we could be a solid team that's going to cause some trouble to 90% of teams that we play. Like these are the top teams in the world that we've just played in the space of 4 days. We're not going to play them every week. We should try and at least put something on them. But I think focusing on teams like Fulham, where we should be getting results. But I want a big performance against Fulham. It's a must win for me, but I want to see it with some conviction as well.
Thank you. Justin, I'll give you the last question before we move on to Fulham. For you, were you more impressed in this game? Because I looked at it and thought we showed more fight, more intensity, more creativity, and we thought it showed a lot more promise, especially going forward. The attack actually done their job. So do you agree with all those things, that you were overall impressed, but we showed those little things all coming together?
Yeah. I was a bit more impressed. Still, there's so many areas what I'm just not happy with. But I was more impressed for this game at least. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm losing faith at the moment. So I need these performers to start up in their game.
Yeah. Quick piece then on Thomas Frank. I want to get a feeling where at least a couple of you are feeling with him. at the moment, I'm 100% behind him, but I totally get some of the concerns when he sits here and goes, what is it there? So many games will be average. It's really concerning. That is for me an outdated and I'm sorry, but Brentford-like mentality. And I really like the guy, and I think he's thrown under the bus way too much. I think we need to end the vicious cycle of manager after manager, not backing them in, out, shake it all about, and going absolutely nowhere, in fact, backwards. But Joseph, for you, where are you sitting right now with Thomas Frank?
I don't think getting rid of Frank is going to solve anything. I think Tottenham are in a somewhat of a rebuild, a kind of slow, maybe a decent position, but we are in some kind of rebuild. So I think you've got to stick with the man that you've hired to kind of guide us through that. I think the one thing that I do have concerns over is him. He needs to start separating himself from what he was at Brentford. I understand that when he came up with Brentford, the team isn't expected to do great. You're kind of the underdogs going into most games. That's fair enough. You're not that at Tottenham. You're in 70, 80% of the games, you're expected to go out there and try and win. And too much, I'm seeing him just show so much respect to the opposition. And just, after every game, he's always talking about how great every team is and it's like, you know what, we're actually quite a good football team when we want to play it, when we want to play well. And the one thing I really want to see on Saturday is him try and highlight our offense and what we do well, rather than give so much respect to Fulham and go, oh, they're a decent side, we need to be careful. No, let's go and give the game to them, like bring the game to them, like we did against Copenhagen, like we have in some games this season where we've gone, you know what, we can install some fear into this team. We can go out and win this game 2-3, 4-0. We're not seeing that enough. He's giving so much respect to his opponents, and it's just not what we want to see as Tottenham fans. We want to see on Saturday, we should be seeing a Tottenham team go out there and try and attack Fulham. And they've been very inconsistent this year, Fulham. They're 15th place at the moment. We need to go out there and we need to be going out there and trying to win these games. And too much of the time, we're trying to mitigate our opponents, what our opponents can do, rather than try and highlight what we can do. So I think Frank needs to change that. He needs to start realizing that I am a manager of a top club that's expecting to go out and win a majority of games, and not by getting by, not by winning games 1-0, by nicking games at the end, by dominating some football matches. So that's what I hope we see a difference in. I think, again, it's going to take time. I understand that, and I'm willing to give him that, because I think, like you said, we can't just keep on firing managers. But if he's not willing to change that mindset, eventually you've got to think, is this the right guy? Because he needs to realise, like Tottenham, to dare is to do. This is what Tottenham Football Club is. You've got to be willing to try and fight and win games. And he came in saying not taking risks is a risk. Well, so far, in my opinion, for 6 months, you haven't taken many risks. It's time to start taking some risks and trying to win games.
All I could think is he come here and think, he probably looked at it and thought, we conceded too many goals, lost too many games, let's shut up shop, then we'll build going forward and players start to come back. That's all I can think, because, Frank was an attacking manager at Brentford, and I like to hear it, especially after the last couple of games, but he was a big game manager. His Brentford side would win more games against the top 6 clubs than they would teams down the bottom, in the bottom 3. It was just a matter of fact. They used to go to play City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and 9 times out of 10, especially if Brentford were actually away from home, they'd get a result. Seriously, Brentford were incredible against the top 6 clubs. So that's all I can think. But let's go through the panel and get all your thoughts quickly on Thomas Frank. And Philip, I'm going to come to you. It's going to be a challenge for you, because I know you won't mind me saying this, but I know you can talk for the whole of England as well as Germany. But can you, give your quick thoughts on Thomas Frank?
Yeah.
Thanks, Philip, for that answer. That's fantastic. Thank you.
Move on. Sorry, Philip.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm 100% Thomas Frank in. But I think there's a lot of mitigating factors around where we are at the moment. It's a complicated situation. I don't think that Frank sets us up all the time to be defensive and not try things. I honestly think that he does need to take more risks, like Joseph said. He needs, especially in games like Fulham at home, lesser teams, let's say, right, that we're playing against. We've just played pretty much probably 2 out of the top 5 teams in Europe, in the last couple of days. And that's not going to happen all the time, right, where we get taken apart a bit, but then also give away stupid goals still as well. But I think, it's going to take Frank time to understand his team still. He still doesn't know the right balance, still doesn't have his first choice players in some respects, I don't think he knows what to do on the left-hand side sometimes. Still, the centre midfield is a big problem. I personally still think it's the biggest challenge that we and he has in terms of affecting a whole play. And you saw, like yesterday, with Bergvall, Gray, Sarr, we looked just a lot more fluid. We had a lot more energy. We looked able to move the ball easier, and I think that was just almost as well automatic because of not having, Bentancur and Paulina in there and just having a slightly different setup. So he's still learning all of this stuff, but the proof's in the pudding. He's going to have to show he deserves the time, right? And he's going to get players back. Hopefully we're going to get 1 or 2 new players in January, but he's going to have to prove that he can approach games like Fulham now at the weekend in the right way. And on duration, that he starts getting more points at home. We've got this terrible home form. When we're playing against these rough and tumble teams, Bournemouth, Wolves, Leeds, et cetera, et cetera. I know we've beaten Leeds away as an example, but let's be honest, if you look back at the game, we weren't that great in that game. Leeds had a lot of chances. I think he's just going to have to prove to a lot of fans that he can kind of take just that bit extra risk in some of these games.
Yeah.
But again, he's an attacking manager. He's not I agree with you, Harry. I think he's unfairly sometimes put into the box or the drawer, whatever you call it, as a defensive manager. I wouldn't call him a defensive manager. I think he tinkers around a lot. He does adapt to the opposition, probably too much, as Joseph said as well, but that's because he's come from Brentford. He needs to kind of get used to being at a bigger club where we can, from our side, define this is what we're going to do today. This is what we're going to do to this team, right? We're going to look at our strengths. But I think that if he gets his balance right and he gets a couple more players back from injury, Solanke anyways would be a massive difference as well, right? Focal point, maybe with Moani, then we'll automatically, I think, just see more attacking moves and more proactivity within the team as well. And look, we've got all the other issues as well, like with just giving those goals away, as we just said. Just there's a lot for Thomas Frank to do, but I'm 100% behind him. But I just worry, again, I think I mentioned it on Gary's pod on Monday night. I just wonder if we just, go on a bit of a run again, if we don't get the results, whether the pressure is just going to come, and I hope he gets the time. That's what I would say. I hope he gets the time. And look, again, as Joseph said, I think it was, there's no point swapping him out now, right? Who are you going to get in? And then you've got zero continuity. Either way, he needs to stay for the season. And then let's see where we finish the season. Let's see how the team progresses. And you know what? If it's not that great, or if the team or the new owners feel that maybe they can feel that they can get an upgrade or a manager that fits better to the phase where we are next summer, they can still take that decision. But he needs the season, and I hope he gets a lot longer than that as well.
Fingers crossed. Thank you, Philip. I think you can confirm after VAR check you did talk the whole of G7 there, but thank you very much. I appreciate your thoughts. Very, very good. If people don't know, the link to this is, Philip's joining us from Frankfurt, Germany. So when I say talk the whole of England and Germany, that's why. Not just a random thing I've thrown out there. But Philip, you always speak sense, which is good. Maybe more than I do sometimes. So thank you very much. Right, let's get Gary and Justin's thoughts on Thomas Frank. Gary, I'll start with you. Where are you at the moment? Frank in, Frank out? Shake it all about.
Frank in, but look, I understand the cries for Frank out, and he isn't XYZ and all the things. But for me, you can't keep recycling managers every 12 to 18 months. You look at Arsenal, for example, they're 4, 5, 6 years into their rebuilding. Now things are coming, so they've shown patience, understanding, they've invested. They've got it wrong, but they've corrected those errors. They've had backing from their ownership. Chelsea, the same. We need to look at those things. We've got a fantastic coach on our hands. We need to support him. The weekend was awful. Yesterday was an improvement, But we just need to allow people or a manager time to build a squad, and then we can really judge him on it. And it's just not going to work. Constant rinse and repeat. You know, we've had every type of manager going. We've had a win now manager in Antonio Conte. We've had a special one. We've had Poch. We've had Ange that wants to just go all out. We've had every type of manager, and the recruitment is trying to keep up with all these different things, and it's starting to creep up on us. So we need to be patient. I've been Thomas Frank in. He's coming off a 22 league game defeat last season where we shipped 65 goals. He's being cautious with our defending, and he doesn't have, and he has also said it, doesn't have that attacking quality that he wants. And at the moment, they're all getting treatment. Once they're back, I think we can properly judge him. But for now, I'm very much Frank in.
Thank you. For me, the problem lies with upstairs. It's constant PR stunts. Look, we've changed after 2.5 decades. We strive for sporting success. Well, where's that been in the past? Where's that come from? You know, it's very, very clever all of a sudden to, recognise time's up and we need another chance. That's all I would say. So, Frank, for me, definitely.
They've thrown Daniel Levy under the bus. Is essentially what they've done. They just threw him under the bus, saying, "Look, it was all Daniel Levy's fault." But I'd always told that Vivian Levy was a pretty big Spurs fan. I know some people since I started doing a little bit of content creating, and she would never go to games. She wasn't that bothered. So now I'm not too sure why all of a sudden there's a very big interest. So it seems to one or two things for me. They've seen the scenes after winning the Europa League and say, actually, yeah, I do want to be a part of this. Or they've seen that and gone, hang on a minute. Let's build it a little bit more and then let's cash out.
Exactly. I mean, 100 million is nothing, unfortunately, in today's market, especially if it's spent wrong. But for me, stop the PR stunts, stop talking. Action speaks louder than the words, and do the talking.
That 100 million is for cash flow. That 100 million for cash flow, the actual running of the club. It's nothing to do with spending.
No,
we are one of the biggest teams in Europe that owes the most money. Only Barcelona owes more money than us. Ours is obviously through the stadium, but that's cash flow. That's to allow everything to keep ticking over as it is, because we've got so much debt at the football club. We owe something like 300 million in transfers because we're putting everything on a credit card. How we can best explain it? We are very, very. I've said this. I think I said this on your. Mainly I come on your podcast anyway.
Probably, yeah.
We're a very asset-rich club, but we're cashless. And that's what they've done, is just put some money in there. I don't envision us spending 100 million in January.
I just don't think Enid would be able to get away with their lack of ambition and all this words and no action in any other, industry. I just think they'd get away with it
for 25 years.
Well, yeah, they have, and they shouldn't, should they? That's what I think. But hey ho, it's not all about my thoughts at all. Justin, would you like to give us your thoughts on Thomas Frank at the moment? I know you tend to lean on the side of caution, let's just say, in inverted commas, negative. But what are your thoughts on Frank?
Yeah, I'm all right with him at the moment. Obviously, certain bits are a little bit of a worry, but because we haven't got our full squad there, I'm giving him the leeway. Unless the club was a year ago bringing Xavi, then I'm all right. I can wait. He's got a good team around him as well. We don't normally have that coaching side. We normally still got the Ryan Masons and people like that. So it's good to see that there's foundation there, and I'm all right to wait because we've got a cup. Like, if this was still continuous and still not winning, I think different story. But we went and got our cup. I can be patient for another 17. No, I'm joking. I can't do that again. But I can at least ride it out for 2 seasons, and at least as long as we get European football, I don't care if it's conference to Champions League. As long as we get European football and we can continue to grow, then I'm cool with it.
And you think we will get European football? Just to check.
Yeah, we'll definitely get conference. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just asking, it's really close at the moment. If you're not being funny, if you look from 15th to 2nd, highest, 2 games max in it? It's really, really tight. So, got Fulham and Newcastle coming up in, let's come forward to 5 days' time at the time of recording, then we could be literally 15th, 16th or we could be second easy. It could be anywhere between that. It's just crazy to think. I know it depends on other results, and this is hindsight, but that's what could happen. Right, quick Fulham preview then, because I'm live with the Premier League podcast hosted in 8 minutes time. So a speedy Fulham preview. Gary, can I get your thoughts and score prediction for Fulham in the Premier League, which is our next game?
Yeah, I'll be there. Excited to go. Again, I'm hoping 2-0. I want, like I said earlier, I want to see more similar to what we saw last night, fixing the silly individual errors and switching off. I want to see conviction in our win. And I want to see Kolo Muani, Javi Simmons, and Mohamed Kudus on the pitch from minute one. We need our best creative players at home. And we need to win and win with some conviction. Otherwise, the Frank out brigade will continue and will get louder.
Tottenham brigade. Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you very much, Gary. Justin, can I get your thoughts and also your score prediction for the game?
Yeah, to be honest, from how Kolo was moving, and I'm hoping that's given the other players some confidence, I'm going to go with 2-1 us. But I'm only going with that because I'm expecting to see Kolo, Xavi, Kudos, and Gray on that pitch, and Udogie left back. I can't see Spence left back again. I get why he does it, defensive wise, but I can't. It breaks me every single time because it makes him look worse when there's no reason. We can easily put him on the right, especially when Kudos ain't there. Just throw Porro right wing. Me personally, I'm just throwing right wing. He can beat his guy, cross the ball and done. He doesn't need to defend. But yeah, that's what I'm going with. Come on, you Spurs.
100%. Thank you. Philip, this is a real challenge for you. Score prediction? Can't hear you if you're on mute, though. That's the quietest I do.
I did it on purpose, as I said. I'm going to predict I'm going to predict a 3-0 on Saturday.
Oh,
I'm feeling good.
Nice.
Good. I think, and I hope, again, the same. Kudus needs to play. Simons needs to play. Muani needs to play. I assume he's going to do 4 at the back. Go back to that. Udogie's got to play. Porro should start. Put Spence on the bench. And I want to see Gray partnering whoever in midfield. Whether he'll start like that, I'm not sure. Just so long as it's obviously not both of the 2 players that we've talked about quite a lot in midfield. Bergvall can start as well. Sarr can start. I don't really mind, but it's got to be a mix in there. But we need our best players, like Gary said, in there, our best attacking players. Thomas Frank, I think, has no choice almost to do this as well, right? If the players are all fit, then he's got to show the intent now on Saturday. And Fulham are not that great, right? They've been a bit inconsistent, I think, as well, missing maybe a couple of players. So let's go for it. If we see some decisions that don't play, those players, then there's gonna be criticism for Frank. That's the reality. If he doesn't start Kudus, if he doesn't play Xavi, Udogie, it's not going to be good for Frank.
No, it won't be at all. Thank you very much, Philip. And Joseph, can I get your quick thoughts and score prediction as well?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm confident or not, really. It depends on what lineup we see an hour before kickoff. I echo what everyone said. I think the one thing I care about and the one thing I want to see is us focus on our game, not care about what Fulham can bring to the table. Us look at our team and go, well, how can we hurt them? Not how can they hurt us? I think too many times this season we're so scared of our opponents and trying to stop them from doing what they can do rather than focusing on what we can do. And we've proven that we can score goals like we just did last night. Let's go and score a bunch of goals tomorrow. Saturday. So yeah, I hope again, Xavi Simmons, really want to see him start. Kolo Muani up front, a 4-2-3-1. It could be, we could easily get at this Fulham team because they're not that great. They're a professional outfit, but they're not this special team. They're 15th in the league. They're a couple points off relegation. They're not doing very well this year. But it's about us, like that game against Copenhagen. When we played that, it just looked different to any other game. We just went, you know what? We're better than these guys. Let's go and win the game. Why can't we do that more? I want to see that on Saturday. So I'm hopeful. But I think that could all go once I see that lineup come out and we see Paulinho, Bentancur, Spence, and let's just hope we see something different. A Tottenham team that's, to dare is to do, that follow our motto that we're supposed to have. Let's see that.
Exactly that. Thank you, Joseph. And we've done it just about 3 minutes until the Premier League podcast. I mean, throat's dry, so I need a drink before that. But let's go through and wrap it up. So thank you to everyone who's listened on YouTube. If you're new, please like and subscribe. If you listen live, really appreciate you getting involved. You can listen after, of course, anytime. Same with if you're listening on a podcast platform, it's actually audio form. Please do drop us a follow there if you're listening and a 5-star review. Let us know where you're listening from and what time of the day too, because I always find that interesting. I'm Harry Scarfe, of course, your host for always. Let's go through and see if you can find my wonderful panel on all socials. Gary, thank you very much for coming on. Apologies for that misunderstanding, the wrong times and all that rubbish before, and then not being able to work that little screen at the end. I'm really pleased that I've got that, can now share things on the screen I never knew. So need to get more up to date. But thanks so much for coming on. Where can people find you?
That's great to be on again, and I'd just be logging on now, wouldn't I? I'd just be missing it if it was the original time. But no, I appreciate having me on at short notice. You can find me on social media, Twitter at Gary R. Ward and TikTok Project Spurs Pod. But yeah, keep supporting Harry, this channel, and everything that you're doing. But appreciate having me and with some great guys as well, and all talk very good stuff about Tottenham, which is fantastic to hear.
They certainly do. I'm very lucky to have so many amazing people on, one of them being yourself. So thank you, and all the best for your podcast as well. Great to see you set that up and expand the good stuff you're doing. So thank you, Gary. All the best with that. Justin, thank you very much for coming on. Adding a kind of calm, cool head, and more negative, but I think sensible. Ultimately, let's be honest with your approach at times. But where can people follow you on the socials?
Yeah, no, thanks again for having me. Another great panel. You can catch me The Right Show. I'm on Twitter and I'm on TikTok. And if you want to see me anytime, I'm normally at most home games, pitch side 105.
Lovely stuff. Thank you. Philip, plug your socials.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Harry. I'm mainly on X, Twitter at Frankfurt Spurs. And keep supporting Harry's channel. Great people on tonight. You've always got great people on as well. So nice to have a good discussion, and let's keep our fingers crossed for Saturday evening. Come on, you Spurs.
Absolutely. Very, very lucky. Have amazing people watching, amazing people on the podcast. Thank you so much, Philip, for coming on. And so there we go. Joseph as well. Thank you for coming on. Where can people follow you?
Yeah, thank you for having me again, Harry. And it's been great to talk Tottenham with everybody. Follow me, Joseph THFC on X. Just kind of putting out my own thoughts and feelings, and every now and then on some lives. Again, great to be involved in the channel. Really enjoyed being here tonight, and can't wait for the next one. But hopefully we get a good result on Saturday.
Thank you so much to everyone. Now go check out the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast, because in about 20 seconds, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'll be hosting the podcast, so do check it out. Stay tuned on the channel. I'll be a tiny bit late, so apologies to me. I'm all over the place with times today, but thank you very much. Hopefully next time you'll be hearing from me, we'll be talking about Tottenham win. So massive. Come on, you Spurs. Like a song.